Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Janine McGowan, and this is my channel where I talk about cross stitch and all of the other things, including today, worms. So that's something to look forward to. You could stay with me. You get to hear about worms. Not really. Well, a little bit. But anyway, it is Saturday, the 26th of March, and our schedule's a little bit weird today. My son has a track meet, so I'm not fancy today because I'm trying to sneak this in before his races start. So we're going to be not speedy, but no time for extras this morning. But that's okay. It's still going to be great. All right, jumping right into it. Starting with stitching in action, lots of fun stuff to show this time. First off, Karen from KEB Studio Creations sent 3 wonderful things, and so we're going to start with Alpaca Farm. And she said this was her first drum finish. Well done, Karen. I think you did better than I did for my first drum finish. I love that. So that one is, let's see, on light blue Ada. The next one is Quilting Bee that her husband stitched, and I believe his mother made into a pillow, which was gifted to his sister. So it went all around the family, this Quilting Bee pillow. But I love it. Really wonderful. And nice to have it in a pillow where you can see it out all the time. Finally, she used some of the motifs from Quilting Bee, since it was just the bee itself on the pillow, and put these onto scrap pieces of fabric and made little cards out of them. How wonderful is that? Thank you so much, Karen, for sharing those. I think it's such a great idea, and I would love to take some time and do that myself. So wonderful. Next up, Gloria. We have here the Gentle Rain, and I think I've shown a picture of her finished stitch, but she just got it back from the framers, and I love it. I love the really gentle color palette she chose. It just feels like, yeah, spring and that beautiful soft light and little rain maybe. Wonderful. Thank you, Gloria. Finally, we have Trisha, who did Sleeping Bee, which, as you may know, is a round pattern as designed, but she squared it off, and I love that. I love the way she adjusted the pattern to be square, and then I particularly love the finish that her LNS, Tomorrow's Heirlooms, did for her. So, wow, all of these are up on the website, and you can look at them and be further amazed. I guess Trisha has a whole bee wall, so this is another, I'm honored to be part of the bee wall. Her husband keeps bees, and yeah, very exciting. Thank you all for sharing these. As I said, they're up on the website, and if you ever are stitching a blue flower design and you want to look at color options or be inspired by what other people have done, there's the Stitching in Action section of the website you can look at to get some more ideas and inspiration. And if you've got something wonderful that you've tried that you want to share, just go ahead and send an email to me, and I will get that up there for other people to admire. So thank you very much, Karen, Gloria, and Trisha. What I'm stitching. I'm still finishing up the models for the Quilter Station, but I'm almost done. I get to do some fun, hopefully fun if it works, unusual for me, finishing this weekend, I think, and then by the next video I should be back to stitching the Pilsner Memorial Sampler, so I'm very excited about that. All right, Stash Spotlight. I picked up 2 of the pieces that I got at the attic because I went to the attic, and I never get tired of saying that. First up, is Polywana from Needlework Press. This is a small little design, and it's actually charted to be full coverage tent stitch, although you could easily do it full coverage cross stitches, and I might actually do it full coverage, or you could easily just do the bird. It's this darling little pin cushion. Get a better view here. Look at that. How fun would that be to do? Maybe in addition to my natural history wall, I'll get a little bird bowl. On that same theme, here's another one by Mojo Stitches. This is Mary Barton's work. It's a little bit hard to see. I've seen at least a couple of antique sampler reproductions where they have an element that's a beautiful bird on some flowers, but I haven't necessarily wanted to stitch the whole thing. This is a wonderful way to do just the one thing. It's not very big. It wouldn't take that long. I think it's only like 70 by 80. So yeah, what a fun thing to have. So those are my stash spotlights. I also picked up, when I was at market, the new silks from Dinky Dyes. Here we have corn silk. So these are their releases for this year. It's a very spring-like collection. Sage leaf, tiger lily, begonia. They're not just spring colors, they're kind of spring names as well. Plants and growing things. Thistle and forget-me-not, which is just such a beautiful color. I was holding those too low, wasn't I? But look at those. Lovely spring colors. So everything spring this week is what we're doing. On to the world around. Speaking of spring, I chose the American robin this time. It is a bird that lives year-round in Nevada, but we don't generally see them near our house except this time of year in the spring when they're coming around to visit the yards and hunt for some worms and enjoy themselves. They tend to come in groups, and so you'll just be sitting there and suddenly 10 robins land in the yard and start hunting around, and then they're off. I guess most of the year, or at least the summer, they spend up in the higher elevation forests and not so much in our yard, especially since we don't have a very wet yard setup. I think if you had a pond, you might see more robins year round, but we just have the sprinklers that water the grass and the plants when they need to and try not to have extra water out. So we see them in the spring. We hear the beautiful songs of the robins. I love them. I love the way they're so big and that big belly out front, all nice and red-orange, and you can just see it glowing in the trees. I love them. I didn't know that they gather in what's called a roost, which can be an enormous number of robins together, up to 250,000 birds in a single roost. That's just astonishing to think about. I can't imagine seeing that many robins in one place, but I should have looked for some pictures of a giant roost area. They also can live for quite a while, although the average is more like 6 years. They can live up to almost 14 years, so as long as a greyhound, which, yeah, that's a lot. Anyway, I thought I'd put in a picture of them achieving their goal. Here is a robin with a mouthful of worms, so I did promise some worms. I'm not going to talk about the worms per se, but there's the robin who's had a very successful hunt, and it actually reminds me of when our cat Pilsner was young. He came from a long line of barn cats, and I guess his sibling cats would hunt snakes all the time. I was very pleased he never brought a snake to us, but he did, when he was a kitten, go out in the rain, and he would collect earthworms that come up on top of the grass when it's raining, and he would just bring them in and make a pile on the back step of earthworms. And if you went out at just the right time, you'd see him trotting in from the yard with an earthworm in his mouth, set it on the back step, and then I would, after a while, kind of scoop them up and put them back in the garden. He just thought that was grand. So he could have been a robin, maybe, in another life. All right, questions. I have a question for everyone. When I was at market, I picked up this beautiful rickrack trim from Fiber On A Whim, and I've seen wonderful finishes with rickrack. I know Kathy Haberman uses rickrack in quite a bit of things. I know Lady Dot makes gorgeous rickrack trim, and I have never used it. So I wanted to hear from you. How have you used this in cross-stitch finishing? Do you tack it on the edge? Do you sew it into the seam when you're sewing the backing to the front before you turn it? How is this done? So I would love to hear if you've got any tips and tricks on how to incorporate rickrack, because it's so pretty, and I haven't used it yet because I don't know how. So I want to know how. All right, best thing this video, I've got two. The first one makes me think of, you know, when you're a kid and you think grown-ups get excited about the strangest things. This is one of those. I am very, very excited that we got a new section of fence in our yard. So excited. And the reason for that is along one side of the house we have pretty much open decomposed granite and the raised beds for the garden. Ever since Rye came to us, almost 2 years now, we have been using all sorts of sort of cobbled together solutions to try and block off that side of the yard, to try and fence the beds around and still be able to get to them. And it's just been it's been a mess over on that side of the house. But Rye has been absolutely obsessed with digging, certainly in the beds. She figured out very early on that that's a wonderful place for her to dig. She was obsessed with getting to the little, you know, raised sprinkler heads that are back in those beds so that they go out over the whole bed area. She's been obsessed with digging around the outside of the raised beds. And so finally, this past week, we got a fence. So that whole section of the yard is closed off with a nice little fence and a gate, and I can go in there, and the beds aren't surrounded by netting to try and keep fry out. So that's a very exciting thing for us in this house. Someday, if you're young, you too could get excited about something like a fence around your garden bed. I do have one other good thing, and that's, as some of you may have seen, the design that Steph and I from Lindy Stitches did together was actually chosen for the cover of Needlework Retailer. And then when I was at market, they gave us this wonderful plaque that we can hold up. So it's all ready to frame, or it's not frame, but hang on the wall. It usually hangs in my office here, but I took it down to show you. But isn't that special? I love it. I feel like, yeah, it's a major award. Not really, but it's a lot of fun, and I'm very happy about it. So those are my best things. All right, giveaway. Last video, the giveaway prize, this fabulous project bag featuring that design Spring Forest scrapbook that Steph and I did together. Beautiful color blue, all the great animals from the 805 Stitcher, wonderful project bag, the extra add-ons from Steph. So the winner of that one is Kathy Huff. Kathy, get in touch with me and I will send that your way so you can start enjoying it. On to the giveaway this week. I picked up a set of limited edition colors from the Gentle Art when I was at market. And these are themed around spring picnic. So it's the spring picnic thread pack. I had to open it up in the back so I could take things out to show you. But I love the idea of the theme, and I love the names. This one, Purple Pansy. Next up, Weiner Roast, nice brown. Next, Ant Farm, because what is a picnic without ants, truly. Next up is Mud Puddle. Well, yeah, that's it too. And finally, Strawberry Muffin. So there's a whole pack of picnic colors for you. If you want to be entered to win that pack, just use the word picnic in your comments, and I will pick one winner for the next video. That's actually it for me today. My son is about to run one of many races this morning, so I look forward to getting those results from him, and I'm going to go ahead and sign off for that. There's a puppy video at the end if you want to see it. We've got Mosa settling in nicely here, although she's roaming back and forth behind me because Rye got to the dog bed first, so she's having to make do without the big cushy dog bed. So anyway, I hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much for spending time with me today, and I hope your weekend is lovely. And then I may be out there spending some time enjoying our beautiful fence. Bye.